13th Amendment Constitution declared that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crimes whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. Everything in America goes against the Negro, Latino, and Native American man. Say I'm lying. Yeah. When the Constitution was written, in the what is it called? Abraham Lincoln. The Emancipation of Proclamation. When that was all written down, Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans was either in slavery or fighting off the white man. Yeah. The Constitution wasn't written for us. Right. It was never written for us, man. All the we weren't recognized as a whole man, and still ain't to this day. Yeah. On the books. Yeah. And they show you, man.
That 13th Amendment, man.
Right.
You know, that clause that they put in there talking about every man is free, except if you was a criminal. 14th chapter. You know what I'm saying? Unless you was convicted of a crime, right? So they changed the word nigga and changed it to criminal. Yeah. I'm just realizing that shit, that's a cold word for nigga. Criminal. Criminal.
Let's look that word up too.
Every time you hear them saying, the criminals, just imagine that word, interchange that word with nigga.
Because during this time, we're gonna jump into all this right now, the spirit's on it. During this time, during the 1800s and all that, you had a transferring of slave ownership. That's all that was going on during this time. You had a transfer of slave ownership from privately owned to government owned. So when they transferred over to government owned, they wanted to kind of cancel out that feeling that came from ownership. Like, okay, we're gonna call it, these niggas is niggas, they're nothing. Or and all that. They want to change that, so they have to come with it. It's basically like they have to restart their company all over again. So they got to come with new names, but they're still doing the same thing though.
Yeah. Just like America. Yeah. First it was called United States of America. Then that corporation folded, so then they started calling it the U.S.
Yeah.
Now that folded. Now they call it Homeland Security.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. And that's all that was going on. So they was calling Jake niggas because they was trying to make Jake seem like they're part of the system now, right? So now niggas get changed to code words like criminals, man.
Yeah.
Criminal.
That other word that came along with the clean.
Criminal thugs.
Yeah.
Thugs, man.
Predatory.
Predatory. It was something like predators.
Yeah.
Super predator. There we go.
Yeah.
Super predator, man.
And then like with the 13th Amendment, all it did, slavery never ended. It said if you commit a crime, but that's like the better thing. They had to put crime out there, so when niggas get caught up in crime, or people see niggas, all like, damn, they need to be locked up.
Yep.
So it put that mentality out there for people.
Yep, let's go to Isaiah 14.
Isaiah 14:1.
Right.
For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel.
Hey, because prior to the 13th Amendment, man, prior to the 13th Amendment, which was came about in the 1800s, but prior to that, Jake was in pure hell of slavery, man. When you niggas, you was under control of the so-called white man. That's where you was at. Get the slavery up, bro. This was the state of you niggas prior to the 1800s, right? You niggas right here, you shackled up. You dealing with your woman getting raped. You dealing with losing your family and all that, right? But the so-called white man, he looked at you as nothing but property. That's all you were, man. So the so-called white man at this time, he was trying to see how he could better work his property or get more benefit out of his property, which was you niggas, right? So they came up with all these different type of schemes to get you niggas, man. Go ahead, all right.
And set them in their own land, and the stranger shall be joined with them. and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob.
Right, Israelites, go ahead.
And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord, were servant and handmaid, and they shall take them captive who captive they were.
Talking about Jake taking these heathens and putting their ass in slavery, right? For what they did to us. Go ahead, Doc.
And they shall rule over their oppressors, and it shall come to pass, and the day of the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve.
Right, and that's the time we entering into now, man. We entering into the time where we finna be freed from America, man. You know, that's how you know you a slave, because you was brought over here in chains. You didn't leave, you never left here. So how the hell did you unbecome a slave?
Right.
You never unbecame a slave. All they did was do a mind job on you, man. Because mind you, this is mental slavery. This was all the plans of the so-called white man elites, man. To get total control over the planet Earth, right? Because get Job 9:24, because this prophecy had to pass right here, man. So the Most High put them in the spirit of the so-called white man to figure out how he could get the earth into his whole hands, man. The whole earth, not just at that time England and Spain and Portugal. He needed the whole earth in his hands. Go ahead, Doc.
Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?
So this prophecy had to come to pass. Yo. So we're living in prophecy. That started to come to pass when the so-called white man started to deceive all the nations, man.
Yep.
Right? And then he took down the most important people on the planet. Was the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American. Right? So the 1800s come, you got the so-called Negroes fighting for freedom, and then you got the so-called indigenous tribes or the Northern Kingdom fighting this damn devil in war over their land. You know?
Which they still doing today.
Still doing today. Yep.
What's going on? They trying to take their land. They want to build their pipelines.
Yep.
It's still going on. They over there shooting them with rubber bullets and everything.
Yeah.
That struggle's still going on for this land. Yep. And they do that to the Northern Kingdom was trying to take over their reservations.
Yeah. Yep. Go ahead.
Isaiah 14 and 4. That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden cry ceases.
The golden city ceased, man.
City, yeah.
And that. See, where the white man messed up was when he did allow us to start reading and writing and all that. Because during this time of slavery, you could not read and write if you was a so-called slave, man. Right. Why? Because you was a dangerous threat to them.
Because they wanted to keep this book out of your hands.
Yep. They want to keep this book out of your hands. Nat Turner was he was exercising reading and writing. And that was a threat to the so-called white man, because look what Nat Turner did.
Yep. Right.
He got him he built him up men, and they attacked the so-called white man.
Right.
So this so-called white man allowing Jake to believe that they're free, right? That shit did do nothing but backfire on him, because look where we at now. Look where we standing and what we doing right now.
Out for property page.
Yep. That's it.
To stand back on her feet, man.
Yeah. It was nothing the white man could have did about it. So during the proper emancipation, right? During this time, the so-called white man thinking, okay, well, I'm gonna have these niggas serving me in a whole nother way, a mental slavery. A mental slavery is serving me. But it didn't do nothing but backfire on him, because look what we doing today, man.
He didn't account for this.
He didn't think this. You know? He was better off just keep whooping our back and making it to where we couldn't read. You know? Go ahead, Doc.
It said, verse 5, the Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers.
Hey, so during these 1800s, you had the Union and you had the Confederacy. The Union was the north part of the 13 colonies, man. And then the Confederacy was like the South, where you got the private ownership. like dudes like you see up in Solomon Northup movie, 12 Years a Slave, that type of white man. But then you had remember the dude who came and saved Solomon Northup would be a part of the union or for the government.
Just like Harriet Tubman.
Yeah.
All she was the agent for the union.
Yeah, that's it.
All she was doing is freeing slaves from private ownership to government ownership.
Yep, that's right. Yeah,
And people were like, oh, you know, she fucked. Nah. She's a fucking agent, man.
See, that's all she was, bro. So you had the union that was for the government, the establishment of the government. Then you had the Confederacy, which was for privately owned ownership of slaves. Right? So you had, during this time, you had so-called white people battling with each other, man. Give Matthew's, if a kingdom be divided amongst itself, it shall fall. Get that real quick. So this so-called white man was always destined to go down, or how history itself was proving it because it was prophecy, man.
I get it.
Right? So you have these Edomites in the Union and these Edomites in the Confederacy wanted two total different type of agendas, man, to go. And that don't work.
Here it is right here.
Go ahead,
It's Matthew 12 and 25.
Loud, bro, loud.
Matthew 12 and 25. And Yahushua knew their thought and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation.
Every kingdom divided amongst itself is brought to desolation. You're not going to be able to understand if you divide it. That's how the so-called white man did us. He divided us, man. Right? So the so-called white man during his time, he had division. So amongst the Confederacy, you had a number of states that teamed up with each other, man. You had a number of states that teamed up with each other that thought they was going to go fight against the Union. States like Alabama, Kentucky, Texas, damn, I can't remember them all. But you had a number.
Well, they had the revolts or revelation. I mean, they
had the Civil War and all that.
Yeah, the Civil War.
They had the Civil War and all that. Virginia was one. North Carolina.
They revolted
against the Union.
Yeah.
Why? Because they still wanted that privately ownership of the slaves, man.
Yeah, they didn't want to free the slaves.
They didn't want to free them.
They wanted that servitude.
They wanted that servitude, right? So they made a league with each other, and they started to go against the Union. So then you had Civil War.
That Union hedged by Lincoln.
Yeah, Lincoln. Yep.
He was basically supplying the fight against them. They've got that allies to go against the Union.
Yep. That's right, bro. It was Lincoln. Right? And then you have presidents that was over the South too, the Confederacy, man.
Yeah.
You know, so they was warring with each other. And like we just read it again, Doc.
On Matthew back like this.
No, Matthew.
Matthew 12 and 25, and how Yahushua knew their thought and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation.
Right.
And every city or house divided against itself shall not stand.
So that was as Esau was actually coming into power, he was already divided from the jump, man. You know? So during this time, you had these crackers fighting over us. The Civil War was over us, man. It was over the Negro man. It was over you, man.
Yeah, I seen a documentary, which in that documentary, I don't know if it's true or not, but they said that's why they put Lincoln on the penny.
Yeah.
They made the penny bronze. And they had, like, if you line up a quarter, a nickel, a dime, and a penny, all them presidents are facing one way, but the penny president is facing a different way.
Yeah. And it's not because Abraham Lincoln was honest Abe.
Yeah, it wasn't even because he cared about the Negroes.
Nah, because he had slaves
himself.
You know?
And that's why
that's because what it was, this motherfucker started going against government. Because mind you, both parties, you had the Confederacy and the Union. Guess who they're both aided by? Get the devils up. By these motherfuckers. Because behind the scenes, you got these bankers that's trying to get rulership, man. Yep. At the time. They're trying to get a complete rulership. So they ate the military on both sides. They ate them so much and they fighting so much that the Confederacy and the Union started getting into debt with these guys. So say for instance you win, right? but you still in debt. You in debt to them, so they can do whatever it is that they want because you can't pay it back. So their laws and how they want it to go down be established, and that's what was going on during that time. Because we was heading into the state that we in now. That's where we was heading to. We was heading to where the product, the so-called black man, you was gonna be used to maximum profit. Working our warehouses, keep our economy going.
Because you had to have they needed that, because back then they were stuff built in America.
Yeah.
America had import export. Everything wasn't being outsourced from other countries. They used to build. They had distribution and distribution centers here, and they had places that would ship goods, and that's why they say made in the USA, because they was receiving profits.
Yeah.
And they had to have the so-called black men. You were the ones that were slaves, so you were doing all the trades.
Yeah.
You had the trade experiences. You had the experience to work for these unions.
Yeah.
So they had to have those workers.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that Abraham Lincoln wanted to free the slaves. He had to fulfill these jobs.
Yeah.
Because it was only being fulfilled by the so-called black men and the Moabites, so-called Chinese that was working on the railroads and things like that.
Yeah.
So in order to fill these positions, they knew that, okay, we can't keep them as slaves. We got to get these people out to fill these union spots, these union job positions.
Yep, that's right. Yep, let's go back here.
Isaiah 14 and 6. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual throat. He that ruleth the nation in anger is persecuted and none hinder it.
And that's the so-called white man. He smote the whole planet Earth, right? So going back to the Union and the Confederacy, which was nothing but two different type of white people, right? Edomites, according to the Bible. So when the Confederacy when the Union won basically the Civil War, right? You had the crashing of the economy of the Confederacy. Because they was divided, they just lost, right? So what did they do? They came up with the plan of establishing prisons up in the United States of America to throw you niggas right back in slavery, man.
Jim Crow law. All these things happen.
Because that's how you had men like Solomon Northup saying I'm a free man when they still was at slavery down south.
Yeah.
Because he was up in New York or up north. They were kind of free up there where they had Jakes that were free up there, and they had union jobs. Yeah. So they had making a living for themselves. But they had down here, which was the Confederacy, had still Jakes in slavery.
Yeah. So when the Confederacy made the 13th Amendment, right? Hey, somebody pull the 13th Amendment.
I got it.
Hey, oh yeah. So now the so-called black man is so-called free from slavery, right? But they build prison systems, and then they start arresting Jake for the most minorest things, throwing Jake in jail for felonies over looking at a white woman. You wonder what happened to Emmett Till? He was doing the time when they was throwing the black man in jail for any little thing. When you look at a white woman, that was a damn crime. That was considered a crime. You whistle at a white woman, that was considered a crime. That's all that happened to Emmett Till, you know? But Emmett Till was just a small factor. You got Jakes, or so-called black men that was in them prisons for life for doing nothing, man. You just caught walking down the street and being in the wrong place at the wrong time. You got thrown in prison back then, man. And what you did, they forced you to work the same labor that you worked when you was in slavery. But then it was just legally, now you legally in slavery.
It was a loophole.
It was a loophole, and they found it, bro. So during this time, you had the prisons filling up left and right because Jake is just getting through in there by the hundreds, man. Not just men, neither.
That's free labor. That's
Black woman too, man. You black woman was getting through right in there too. You know? Go ahead,
This is from a website called LOC.gov.
Right.
It's a primary document in American history. 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution declared that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for crime.
And that's what it was. So now they created these prisons, right? And then they putting Jake in jail for any crime, calling him a criminal off any crime, from loitering, being in a place at the wrong time. Damn, what else did they? What else it was? It was domestic violence. Little things, man. They were just throwing Jake in jail I'm talking about Jake filling them prisons up, man.
And they were giving long ass sentences too.
And it's basically saying that you can go back into slavery if you commit these crimes.
Yeah.
Like slavery would be abolished unless you committed a criminal crime. Then you go back into legal slavery.
Yeah. So say now the crashing of the Confederacy economy, or how did they want to do things. Now your slaves is free. Now you ain't got nobody to do what it is that you need to be done. Right. So they create these prisons and all that, and they start finding a loophole around this amendment right here, man. They find a loophole around the amendment. So now, okay, since they got to commit a crime, we gonna set it up for them to commit crimes.
I'm gonna read it again, bro.
Go ahead.
It says, I'm gonna read it again. It says the 13th Amendment Constitution declared that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crimes whereof the party shall have been duly convicted.
Yep. Keep going out.
Shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Formally abolished slavery in the United States. The 13th Amendment was passed by Congress on January 31st, 1865, ratified by the states on December 6th, 1865.
Right. So now we got to find out how to throw these niggas in slavery again. Okay, let's start making all type of laws of small things of crime that Jake loved to do, that like Jake where Jake be at, right? And then we got these niggas back where we want them.
Hey, let's flood the ghettos with crack.
Yeah.
You know, let's put these rappers out there to what's the word, man?
To lead them back to
push that vibration of selling drugs.
Yeah.
Hey man, they made everything. They criminalized Jake, man.
Hell yeah, and we still dealing with it to this day. Yeah. They criminalized the hell